Domonique, I'm going to pose something to you. Jeff Darlington was on this show the other day, and he said the Eagles' performance, that literally their half of this game Friday night, is the most important game of week one based upon how their season fell apart last year. Do you buy it?
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. I think that professionals are able to overcome a lot of things mentally. But the way that season ended for the Eagles last year, that took a toll. Yeah. We're entering this season with big question marks around a very important position of the head coach. And if they start out rough, I think things get scary. And they think that they've addressed their coordinator issues. They think they've addressed their ways to address blitzing. They think that they have addressed their problems in the secondary with the new safeties and corners that they acquired. If they come out and lay an egg, it's going to be a real long flight home. Ooh. And it's going to be some problems and some decisions being made throughout the course of that season.
10 hours of misery. 10 hours of questioning everything you're about.
Games in Brazil.
Yeah. I mean, from Brazil to Philly. And then when you land, you got the roughest fan base in sport. And they don't have patience in Philly, right? So this is it's a monumental game. And what's crazy, it's game one. Like, it doesn't really matter, but it matters, right?
I can't imagine. That's going to be pretty sad if you take off from beautiful Brazil and you land in Philly with an L hanging on your back. That's going to be a sad
Go all in. Bring it all. Whatever you got in the bag, make sure you bring it all out.
Listen, this is a must-win game. But make no mistake, it's not just about week one. It's much bigger than week one. This is about the rest of the season, because this was a team last year that started 10-1 and still sort of nosedived. You have a quarterback who was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. And now people are wondering, was that Super Bowl run, was that the aberration? Is last year the Jalen Hurts that he truly is? And so every week is a referendum on the quarterback and the head coach.
I got two words for you. Saquon Barkley. Amen. He is the solution to whatever their problems are. Now, let me reframe that. Their problems, I think, were psychological or emotional or whatever that is. He probably can't solve that. But he can solve everything else. When in doubt, you were making an analogy this morning that I really like, and we'll dive more deeply into it. The acquisition of Saquon Barkley for Philly could look a lot like what?
It could look a lot like Christian McCaffrey in the 49ers. Right. I think that Saquon is as talented as Christian McCaffrey, has never been in as good of a situation. And we saw when Christian McCaffrey got to San Francisco, that offense slowly, pretty quickly, became a Christian McCaffrey-centric offense, and he was putting up MVP caliber seasons. Healthy Saquon behind this offensive line with weapons that you have to respect on outside in a quarterback that you have to respect in the run game, that is tough.
From Carolina to San Fran, I like the whole thing. You put it all together.
I just thought of a question. Julian Goldstick, our producer, is going to be mad because I'm supposed to move on to the next thing. But I just thought of a good question, and maybe we'll dive more deeply into it later. I'm telling you right now, one of the following four people are going to be first-team All-Pro this year. Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Devontae Smith, or A.J. Brown.
Wow, you really
Who you got?
Okay.
One of the four of them are going to be first-team All-Pro. Who is it? Because I'm going Barkley. Yeah, I'm going Saquon.
The one that I feel most confident about, because there are a lot of receivers that could take that spot.
Right.
I don't think that anyone considers there's a lot of quarterbacks that Jalen Hurts has to overcome. Yeah, the one guy who I think has the shortest odds with Christian McCaffrey coming in a little bit injured, coming off of that season he had last year, Saquon Barkley is probably the safest.
And the best offensive line. Like, of the two teams, he got the best offensive line.
This is why him going to Philly I was so excited about it, because he's not just with a division rival, but in a situation where he can be used the way he needs to be used, and he's got other people that can help him.
Let's do some more or less. Hey, Jeffrey, 251.5 passing yards is the number for Jordan Love. You going more or less?
I'm going more. Look, I love Vic Fangio. I think he's fantastic. He's going to get this defense right, but it's going to take a little time. I think LaFleur and Jordan Love do a great job of spreading the ball around. They're going to have some big hits for the game, so I think he goes over 251.
Domonique, let's talk about the other quarterback, Jalen Hurts. Total yards, 280.5. Which way you go?
I think I go less, which is not necessarily an indictment on Jalen Hurts. It's about the conversation we were having earlier. It's about Saquon Barkley. I think that some of those rushing yards that Saquon had to accumulate in the past, they're going to go to Saquon. Some of those drives, they're going to throw the ball a lot less, because the 10-yard run or that 5-yard run is going to turn to a 12 or 25-yard run. And those are numbers that are coming off of Jalen Hurts. I think he has a good game, but he may not put up all the yards.
I like that thinking. Jeff, let's then talk about Saquon. His total is 65.5 rushing yards in week 1? You go more or less?
I'm going more. I already put some money down. So we're going to talk this through. Here's the thing. He can take a 4-yard gain and go 40. That's the difference. He is a home run hitter at his position. So I like what he can do. I like the vision that he has. He's a patient runner. He sets up his blocks, which is very good for this offensive line, who I think is one of the best in the league. I look forward to watching Barkley throughout the season. It's going to be a big-time show.
Absolutely. In fact, his own coach, Nick Sirianni, couldn't be more excited. You'll hear him here saying he can't believe his eyes when he realizes how good Saquon is.
How eager are you to put finally Saquon Barkley out there in your offense, and how eager are you for that?
Yeah. I mean, he made a run at practice, and I just remember taking my sunglasses off and looking at a couple coaches. I'm like, all right, this is awesome, that we got him here.
So look, I've always gotten a sense you were a huge Saquon Barkley fan, believer just from all the years we were talking about him with the Giants and everything else. So how would you describe, we made a comparison to Christian McCaffrey earlier. How would you describe the impact you expect him to have on Hurts and on this offense?
I think huge, not just from a football standpoint, but emotionally, psychologically for Saquon. Like, this is a kid from that area coming back. It's almost like full circle. And you're coming to a team, not just division rival, but also a team that wants you.
Yeah.
It felt like with the Giants, it was like quibbling back and forth about the money. Saquon, in this offense, for him not to have to shoulder the entire load, but feel fresher. Feel like, okay, now I understand that me in the play, being used in play action, run game sets up other guys. We've got so many explosive weapons. I can take a load off Jalen. And I just think back to John Mara on Hard Knocks. And he's in Joe Shane's office, and he's like, it'd be really tough to lose him. Well, you're going to see this guy really ball out this year.
I agree. I think the Saquon Barkley, here's the part of it that I find fascinating. The new offensive coordinator is Kellen Moore.
Right.
Our beloved Rex Ryan used to call him Boy Wonder all those years in Dallas. He likes to throw the ball.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, if there's one thing, Kellen Moore is the Mike D'Antoni of offensive coordinators.
My God, I love it.
He likes to fling the rock.
Yeah.
Look, Saquon will catch the ball out of the backfield. But the bottom line of it is a run-heavy, run-based offense is not what you usually associate with Kellen Moore. So I'm going to be fascinated to watch
This is
that
Sirianni's
balance.
job, right? That's his job, is make sure that the offense runs through Barkley. That's the bottom line, right? Is make sure he's getting enough touches in the run game, because unlike other parts of your game, you have to get him so many touches in the run game for it to get going, right? That offensive line can lean their weight on people. They can be physical, which again will open up the new receiver Dotson, Smith and A.J. Brown. You got Goddard at tight end. There's a lot of advantages to running through him, let alone the screen game, all the little different things you can do with him. But I think that it has to go through Barkley to be effective.
I hope Kellen Moore can do it without Sirianni telling him to, because I
agree with that. Yeah.
I get, based on last season, it feels like the last thing they want Nick Sirianni to do is to meddle in the offense, right? They want Nick Sirianni out. And
That's a good point.
The stories from the offseason was that Nick was pushing these things that were slowing down the offense and making Jalen uncomfortable. So Kellen Moore should be smart enough to figure it out. It's about the weapons that you have and using them.
Sure.
That's what good coaches do. And I think Kellen had Dak. Kellen was out in L.A. Like, those are situations where maybe you feel more confident in passing. I think given the personality he has now, running the ball.
But he's got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and they added Jahan Dotson. I mean, you could make an argument they have the best receiving weapons in the entire league.
Yeah, and I think it's attractive, but you got to back away from it. It's a pretty simple formula.
Right.
Walk up to the line of scrimmage. Where the hell are the safeties?
That's right.
If they're in the box, throw it outside.
That's right.
If they're not, give it to Saquon. If they're shifting and rolling on you, hard count them and do it. Like, you don't have to overcomplicate it when you have this much talent.
And the ability of the zone read for Hurts is very similar to in Baltimore, right? When you talk about Lamar Jackson and his ability, the issue for me is they don't go to that early enough. I think that part of the game has to open up with Barkley, because again, it puts defense at disadvantage.
I'm laughing because to the point you made earlier, Kmart, about Saquon being accustomed to being the entire offense. If he walks out on the field and the defense doesn't have the safeties in the box, someone's going to have to explain to him that that's allowed.
Since he was with the Giants, every week calling defensive coordinators. Okay, how do you stop? What are you looking for against this Giants offense? We cannot let Barkley go off. It wasn't about it was about how do we stop 26.
Absolutely.
And now he gets to come into a situation where those other guys are going to eat better their bellies are going to be full because he's on this team.
Yeah, it seems like they're all happy to have him too, because that's the most concerning thing when you have these many great weapons. Is A.J. Brown as a player who's awesome and he's on pace to have a Hall of Fame career. Every year matters, all the numbers count. But A.J. Brown himself is like, we're going to make sure that Saquon balls.
It's interesting because Hawk said it yesterday on the show. You know, he talked about the sideline. Like, what does the sideline look like? Are these dudes cheering for each other, right? Like, when you come off the sideline, are you frustrated you're not getting touches if the offense is being productive? That's where the room, the locker room itself is going to show itself. Is how are we all pulling for each other? And listen, I played on one of the best offenses in NFL history. Those dudes wanted to rock, but they also could cheer for their other guy. The fellow guy makes a play. Hey, hats off to you. That has to be the attitude.
That's about leadership, and that goes to the head coach. That goes to the quarterback. All that stuff matters.
We'll see if they've got it. And as Graziano pointed out yesterday, we probably won't know until they hit a bump in the road.
Yeah.
Yes.
We won't know that much about this team if they win.
For sure.
We're going to start finding out about them if they start to lose.